Text talk activities are interactive ways to encourage students to have meaningful discussions about words. The authors point out that vocabulary instruction always begins with the context from the story because it provides a situation that is already familiar to children and provides rich examples of a word's use. The following is an example of the instructional sequence that outlines the text talk experience. Read the story, contextualize the word within the story, have students say the word, provide a student-friendly explanation of the word, present examples of the word used in context different from the story, engage students in activities that get them to interact with the words, have students say the word. This instructional sequence can be used and adapted throughout all grade levels. The following example is of a text talk book intended to cover kindergarten vocabulary. Caps for Sale, A Tale of a Peddler, Some Monkeys, and Their Monkey Business is a suggested book by the authors with 3 specific target vocabulary words. This book can also be incorporated into the study of economics through the concepts of goods, wants, and needs. This table captures a visual of the verbal aspects of text talks. Each target vocabulary word is written in the first box. Below that, the students will find the sentence containing the target word directly from the story and write it in the box. Next, the teacher or student will create an explanation for the word and write it. The students must then create a sentence that uses the word in a context different from the story. Finally, students will create a visual image to represent the meaning of the word. The middle school example reflects the same instructional sequence and word study activity as outlined in the kindergarten example, but is adapted for the appropriate grade level. Here, the students have 5 to 10 target vocabulary words they must explore within the book Black Potatoes, The Story of the Great Irish Famine. This book can also be connected to economic concepts that are incorporated in content area reading.
Critique. Bringing Words to Life, Robust Vocabulary Instruction presents research-based information written in a clear, insightful manner. This book is extremely accessible for teachers who want valid information that facilitates practical application in the classroom. The organization of the book provides the reader with a straightforward outline of what to expect in each chapter. The evaluation communicated in the remainder of this section further explores the highlighted strengths and weaknesses. The first 2 chapters of this book discuss the rationale and process of selecting appropriate words for vocabulary instruction. The authors do an excellent job of explaining the importance of direct instruction as opposed to expecting students to pick up words in context as they read. Many classrooms do not have time devoted to delving into language and word meanings, and it is important that authors detail how much students get out of engaging, meaningful, direct vocabulary instruction. Also, many beginning teachers are unsure of how to go about selecting vocabulary words. They may just go through a text and pick out the difficult words with which the students are unfamiliar. The second chapter explains exactly how to go about determining words for instruction and provides examples. The key to selection is that words must be relevant to the students, their background knowledge, and that they will be exposed to in the future written and verbal communications. In Chapter 3, the authors discuss how to introduce vocabulary words to students. They do a good job of acknowledging how many teachers introduce vocabulary and explain what is wrong with the form of introduction. They then succeed in walking through several different effective ways of introducing vocabulary from various types of text. A feature of this text is that it provides an explanation of how to use a technique, explaining exactly what it will look like, and then has a Your Turn section where one can practice implementing the strategy or technique. The authors provide many different activities one can use to engage students. The authors strongly advocate the acquisition of vocabulary through active and meaningful listening and speaking. The continuous exposure to rich language among all content areas, not just language arts, allows students to explore word meanings in the context of what they are reading, writing, listening, and speaking. In addition to transferability and flexibility that the techniques display, this book gives teachers of all grade levels and subject areas a chance to incorporate authentic vocabulary instruction and reading skills. The school environment connection is used to inspire meaningful connections that make vocabulary and reading instruction relevant to students. The final strong point expressed in this chapter is to have students become accustomed to hearing words that they do not know, words that are beyond their current knowledge. This helps students stretch their expectations about language. One of the most important features offered is located in the appendices. This section offers a vast quality of resources of children's literature in various genres. Being able to quickly reference authentic, rich books with highlighted vocabulary is invaluable to teachers. However, one critique for the authors is the role differentiation will play in vocabulary selection. All students have different experiences and understanding of words. If teachers are to select vocabulary words based on words that students already have a general idea of, then that will vary greatly from student to student. Vocabulary selection will have to be very individualized. When following these guidelines, and the authors don't mention anything about doing this effectively and efficiently, it would be beneficial for the authors to explain how selection would go in a typical classroom, which contains between 25 to 30 students operating at different ability, reading, and awareness levels. Another critique with this text is that while it does provide a number of very good examples, they are sometimes a bit repetitive. There are several times in the text, especially in chapter 4, where one begins reading a concept previously mentioned. There is also a lack of examples of how to extend instruction when a student is not able to understand a definition. There are no additional interventions which are necessary in a typical classroom. An area of concern that surfaced in chapter 7 was the idea of sprinkling the environment with words. While the main premise of the book is foundational for multiple exposures with words, furthermore, the book states that it is true that not all of the words that appear in the student's environment will be learned. What can be implemented to enhance the possibility that students will gain deeper meaning of words through verbal language, even if this is an additional goal of instruction. Being able to quickly reference authentic, rich books with highlighted vocabulary is invaluable to teachers. However, the books only range from kindergarten through 2nd grade. This limits the level of resources. Depth of genres would be more valuable if more nonfiction books were added to the list. Nevertheless, the book lists and resources are a great start to guide teachers in the right direction for text selection. Adding the direct vocabulary instruction strategies in the appendices would allow the reader to effectively and quickly access the information without having to search through the book. Overall, this text is an excellent resource on direct vocabulary instruction for teachers, but should be used in conjunction with other resources as well.